So interoperability is this idea that there will not be one token to rule them all. So sorry, Bitcoin. You're going to have many networks like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Ripple and legacy systems like the traditional bank networks running on older protocols like SWIFT and older settlement networks like ACH and so forth. And these systems all speak their own languages, and these systems all have their own business logic and rules. So currently, as it stands, it's very difficult for Ethereum and Bitcoin to understand each other. Substantially more so for the old banking networks, which have the added requirement of metadata and attribution to the transactions. So the problem is that if you don't have a single standard, and if you don't have a canonical way of communicating with these systems, then you run into a situation where value gets very fragmented. So regardless of how decentralized any one of these particular ecosystems happen to be, the kingmaker will be the small on and offboarding hubs that control the movement of value between these systems. Currently, we are seeing those as exchanges, but there are others who could come, and these exchanges are very fragile. They're subject to being hacked. They're subject to draconian regulation. Occasionally they get shut down because of unwise regulatory policy, or in some cases wise regulatory policy. And this is really not a good situation to be in for a supposedly decentralized, permissionless ecosystem, to have a small group of actors control whether one can convert their value from one system to another system. Furthermore, when people do business in this world, if these businesses are regulated or even semi-regulated, they usually do have to interface and interact with the traditional financial world. For example, let's say that you're a cryptocurrency company and you issue an ERC20 token. Okay, so that ERC20 token, let's say you have a crowd sale and you raise millions of dollars worth of Ether. And as an actual company with a bank account in a legal jurisdiction, you begin selling that Ether and deposit millions of dollars into your bank account. Well, then, bank is a regulated entity, and so the first question they're going to ask is, where did you get these millions of dollars from? And the bank will then ask you to explain, to provide some data and details. You'll say, oh, well, I had a crowd sale and I sold an ERC20 token and I got a bunch of Ether. And they say, okay, well, who did you get it from? Who are your customers? And you respond, people over the internet. And unfortunately, that's really not a good answer. And this entity is a regulated business entity that has to file suspicious activity reports, that has to deal with people on their side, like the Treasury Department or maybe the European Union and so forth. These entities feel that this is a very risky proposition. And this is the unfortunate reality that we tend to live in our world. We have fragile interlinks throughout cryptocurrencies as well as the legacy financial system. And there's really no way to escalate transactions in a very natural way so that when one wants to do business with the legacy world, that metadata, that attribution, the compliance information that one would want to have is not present. And as a consequence, anybody doing business here automatically becomes a high-risk business. This is an unfortunate situation. So the idea of a third-generation cryptocurrency with respect to interoperability is a cryptocurrency that has the capacity of being able to understand and watch other cryptocurrencies. A cryptocurrency that when it sees Ethereum and an event occurring here, can actually verify if that event is true or false. For example, if Alice says she has Ether and sends Ether to Bob, this cryptocurrency ought to be able to actually know that that's a legitimate transaction if it's something in the concern of the third generation cryptocurrency. So cross-chain transfers are reliable, and they should be able to do this without needing a trusted third party. That's the single most important thing, because we want to create an internet of blockchains, an internet of value that flows around just as easily as Bitcoin flows around or Ether flows around. We want to move cross-chain.